All right, it's time for our Morton spot, which is our next review for the week. This week, that's going to be SmackDown. All right, so SmackDown opened with a 5 minute video package of New Bloodline, or 5 minutes of video packages, uh, just kind of like 5 minutes worth of like recaps and stuff like that from the last couple of weeks. Then the New Bloodline came out to kick off the live show. Sokoa said Reigns and Jimmy Uso would acknowledge him by the end of the night, and that the only way for Roman to stop any of this was to acknowledge him. Jay Uso's music hit and he came through the crowd. He comes into the ring with the bloodline, which is wild. And he said he cares about Solo because they're still brothers. He kept calling him little brother and stuff like that. And you could see that that was obviously bothering Solo that he was calling him little
Yeah.
brother and stuff like that. He told Solo to think about what he's doing to the family. Um, Jacob Fatu was standing off Solo's shoulder and just kind of staring down Jay really hard. And Jay just stopped in the middle of his promo. I was like, if you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to whoop your ass. And Solo just stuck his arm out in between them to keep Fatu from doing anything. But I would love to see Jay Uso versus Jacob Fatu, especially with Jay like just bowing up to him like that. But they talked about like what you're doing to the family and how this can be fixed. And Solo kind of reiterated like the only way for this to be fixed is if Roman acknowledges me as the tribal chief, or he said acknowledges him, and he kind of left it there.
Yeah.
But we know what that means. Um, it was like probably the first 20 minutes of the show. And then after that, they had like a little like cut to the back, and there's these two butler guys hauling around this big case and they're holding it flat, and that's where the crown jewel championship is at.
Uh,
And they show it again and it's still
needs two
ridiculous.
cases?
No, it's two guys holding the case. It's like super
Oh,
long,
oh,
but they've got it like splayed out like the whole like
flattened out.
yeah, it's all flattened out belt end to belt end inside that case. And I mean, it's got all the diamonds and stuff they say it's got, but it's still absurdly ugly.
It
um
is.
it is. It really. I like to be positive, but I can't say anything positive about that. It's ugly. It's gaudy. It looks like something like a Zsa Zsa Gabor would wear or something like that. Like one
She'd
of those
probably wear it
old
well.
starlets. Oh, I bet she would. But that's what like Tony Storm would fit well in that title. But that it's just the gimmick that would make that fit.
Yeah.
Um. So after that, we had a three-way tag match with Pretty Deadly, DIY, and the Street Profits. I'm really starting to like Pretty Deadly.
I've
I,
heard good things.
they're entertaining, man. They really are. They're like I don't know if they're supposed to be gay or not. Um I don't know if that's been a focal
I think
point
they're
of the
supposed to be
story.
kind of effete, but
They
I'm
are
not sure.
definitely effeminate. Yeah, like they
Yeah.
wear like the long sleeves with the neck, like those shirts with the long sleeves on the neck, but that's all it
Yeah.
is the long
Yeah.
sleeves and the neck, and it like just goes right above their pecs and stuff like they wear
You mean
effeminate clothing.
like
They're
the Shawn Michaels in
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
'96?
like the Shawn
Yeah.
Michaels upper rig, but they just wear that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Even when they're in backstage segments, they're wearing like ridiculous. Like they're very MXM-ish, except without all the sexual innuendo and a lot more
And they're
fun.
English.
And they're
Yeah.
English, yeah. And
Yeah.
they have a musical thing. They keep talking about how they're working on this musical, and they've sang like a song from it. It's really funny and entertaining. I really am starting to grow on these guys. Where at first I was just kind of annoyed by them because they were just kind of tacked on to Tiffany Stratton and Nia. And
uh,
I think they took the few segments of that they got being saddled with those guys and did something with it. Like
yeah.
they're obviously gonna be around a while. I think even if they're just an
As
enhancement tag team, they're gonna be around a while.
JR said, would say rather, they maximize their minutes.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah.
They maximize their minutes. They're entertaining when they're on TV. I'm entertained. I'm not a big fan of the Street Profits, but I do like DIY a lot. Um, I fell in love with them when Gargano and Ciampa were having
Yeah.
their NXT battles
Oh, so good.
they're so good. Yeah. So these guys being a tag team, I like them against each other better, but I like them as a tag team. So Pretty Deadly and them together in a tag. I paid a lot of attention to this match. It was pretty good. Um, they did this thing where one member of each team was always legal.
Okay.
instead of,
Okay.
like two guys, being
So it was more of
legal.
a triangle deal.
Yeah, it was it was like a triangle
Okay.
match instead of a typical three
Traditional
way.
trip.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and I kind of like that change from
I remember they
normal.
used to do stuff like that in WCW in the 90s, like the
Hmm.
early 90s. Never
Yeah.
really brought it back once Nitro became a thing, but I always
Right.
liked the concept.
Right. Right. So it was really chaotic, but all three of the teams like really kind of made sure the action was going really well and it was followable. They did this kind of weird mess at the end where we couldn't figure out which member of Pretty Deadly was legal.
Okay.
So at the end, Montez Ford and Johnny Gargano are each pinning a different member of DIY or of Pretty Deadly. And the one that Johnny Gargano is pinning is the legal one. So
Okay.
there was like this schmoz at the end, but when they showed the replay, it's very clear that like Champa knew exactly who was legal, and that's who
Yeah.
he made sure Gargano was on top of. So,
Smart.
but like the Street Profits are trying to celebrate like they won, and like Champa's pushing them out of the way because they're in the way of the hard cam, and they're exchanging words and stuff like that, and it Champa Champa should be more feared in this. Like he just of all those guys, of all six of those dudes, he's the one who looks like he'll kill you easily. And I think he should like be treated as
Yeah,
such.
it's
But
true. That's the problem when you got the NXT guys coming up on the main roster, though, is that those NXT guys are on the whole smaller
mm-hmm,
on
they are.
average, and he's jacked. He looks amazing, but Tommaso Ciampa is only about 5'11" at best.
Yeah.
He's always gonna when you hit the land of the giants, you're always gonna run into that wall of perception, whether it's fair or not. You know, whether it's deserved or not, you always are gonna have to fight uphill against that perception. I mean, I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't seen much of main roster or any WWE really in a few years now. But yeah, that was one of those things. Like it works super well in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's so talented. But when you go to that main roster and you're facing guys like put across the ring with guys like Braun Strowman, or I mean even against the Street Profits, those guys are not small dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, Dawkins is a big beefy boy.
Yeah. Yeah. He is pretty big.
And he's only gotten more cut as the years have gone by too. Like he used
Mm-hmm.
to be a little. How do I put this delicately? I don't want to body shame, but he wasn't as
Fluffier.
oh no. I
Mm-hmm.
won't say that because
Mm-hmm.
that has Gabriel Iglesias implications.
But it's
And
not mean.
no, it's not. But it's also when people think of Gabriel Iglesias, that's a big boy, and he calls
Yeah.
himself fluffy.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Fair.
so, he. By the way, interesting side note: have run into Gabriel Iglesias several times at wrestling events because he's a huge wrestling fan. In Atlanta, he was actually 2 rows down from our row at the Hall of Fame, and he had a giant serape on. It was in a huge sombrero. It was fantastic. And then 2 years later in New Jersey, one of my friends who we were all going with took a chance and tried to introduce himself, but it was at a steakhouse and he was with his family and it didn't really work out that well.
Oh no.
Sorry,
Oh
Al.
no.
uh, I mean, you shot your shot, man. Love you. Uh, but yeah. So like, I wouldn't say fluffy, but he was definitely not as lean as he
Okay.
is now. He's
Yeah.
still big. He's still a big dude, but he's much more jacked now than he used to be when he was, let's say, slightly softer.
There we go. That'll work.
I hope that's not offensive.
I hope not.
I don't mean for it to
Yeah,
be.
we
I
definitely
mean
don't mean this in a mean
only
way.
being I only mean to be descriptive. That's
Mhm.
all.
The way I put it about Walter, aka Gunther,
Mhm.
his body work is obvious,
Yeah. I kind
and
of miss I kind of miss Fat Walter though.
I kind
Like,
of do too. I kind of do, but
I
he,
kind of miss him.
I this Walter is scarier. This Gunther is scarier though, and I
Is
like
he?
scarier. Yeah, he's way scarier, dude. He's way
See,
scarier.
like I see
He
him.
still hits just as hard.
Yeah,
He's
like I
just
see him, and
scarier
he
looking.
looks so lean, and is like just
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I would be more intimidated by the huge dude who was close to 300 pounds. But again,
It,
I haven't watched, so I haven't seen his body of work for the last 3-ish years.
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've seen plenty of it beforehand, and he was amazing. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine he's gotten worse.
Oh no, he's
But
fantastic still.
yeah,
So yeah, so after the three-way match, they kind of clear the scrum out. Then we see Reigns and Jimmy arriving to the arena backstage. They run into Jay, and Roman, like, he tries to walk away, and Roman grabs him. And he says, "We're proud of you. The whole family's proud of you." And then Jay just kind of looks at him and is like, "No yeet," and walks away. So Jay is really staying on the F y'all thing, which is going to make him popping up for the save eventually a big pop. But for now, they're sticking with the Jay don't want nothing to do with them. As we come out of that little segment, we got Piper Niven coming in with Chelsea Green. She's going to take on Lash Legend in a one-on-one. Lash Legend has Jakara Jackson at ringside with her, so um, when this match started, I thought they lost the tag match last week, but they had something going on Raw. But this is Piper, and she's probably going to beat her. And then Lash Legend powered Niven up from the ground, which was crazy enough in itself, but then reverse Samoan dropped her. And I just went, what? And
whoa,
it was only like a 4-minute match, man. Like, it was quick even. So like, they obviously see the same it that I see and are doing something with these ladies. Um Niven did a senton during the match. It was fucking awesome. Uh but Lash Legend, it was a good match. Like, she really performed well, and picking Piper Niven up like that, like dead weight to reverse Samoan drop, is, I can't say enough how thoroughly athletically peak that is. Like, that
yeah,
is awesome. So yeah, whatever that it is they have, they continue to prove that they still have it and are going to build on it. So we'll see where this all goes. I know it's going to a women's tag match, and I'm totally cool with that. I want to see
mm,
these two teams fight. Again, after a proper build for the under team.
right.
Because these guys just came from NXT. They lost a really quick women's tag match to these guys 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And now it looks like they're cycling them up to a second match, which, cool. I'm good with that. Build more tag teams in the women's
Yeah,
division. I mean, I know all wrestling companies have so many titles and so many people on their roster that it's hard to build a good division and keep a good division going. But one of the most sorely lacking divisions in all of wrestling is the WWE Women's Tag Team division. So yes, please, more women's tag teams. Please keep building
and
them
it has
properly.
been since its inception.
It
There
has
has
been.
never been a good time, from what I understand, from when they established it to when I stopped watching to now. Apparently, there's never really been a great time for that division at all.
Mm-hmm. So after that, Cody Rhodes came out with the Crown Jewel Championships out there in the ring. He, you know, talked about it. After that, we had a video segment from Kevin Owens that looks like he filmed it sitting at his desk at home with his phone just sitting in front of it. Talking about how he's disappointed and why would Randy Orton put his hands on him like that? I would never do that to you. He's like, everybody knows I end up turning on my friends and I don't like people, but I'd never do that to you, Randy. So how could you choose Cody over me? And I'm suspended and it's not fair. And because I guess because he beat up Cody Rhodes outside the building last week afterwards that he's now suspended. So I don't know, but it looks like we're going to get like a despondent, depressed, and spurned Kevin Owens character, which Kevin Steen's always best when he's being a vindictive asshole. So give me more of that.
Yeah.
Um, so we had all that, and then throughout this show, they had been making a big deal on commentary about how the Motor City Machine Guns were going to debut tonight, and boy, did they! Like I mean, they had a big entrance, pyro, the whole nine. Like they are obviously trying to make sure everybody knows that these guys are serious business. There was stuff all over YouTube and social media with them signing their contract before SmackDown went on the air, and you know
Yeah.
how they're going right to work. And so it was Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garces versus A Town Down Under. Um, I kind of wish they would have gave them a a better team to fight at the beginning of this, like for their first match. Like maybe we could have slotted these two teams and made it a four-way for that tag trio thing that happened earlier. Maybe DIY comes
I
and does
like
this
the.
match.
I remember liking the Garzas,
The Garzas are
both of them.
good. I
I
like
like
Angel
Angel.
Roberto.
Honestly, I think Angel's better than Umberto.
He is, I
Honestly,
believe. I believe so.
like I saw his work in NXT. And I'm like, dude, this is the freaking guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I know they tried pushing Umberto really hard out the gate. And I'm like, I mean, there's just something missing, and I think it's personality.
Right. Um, Now, despite the way I feel about these two teams being in this debut, everybody looked good. Like it wasn't just Motor City Machine Guns are here and they're going to whoop some ass. So let's send them two lower tier tag teams and have them beat the shit out of them. No, the Garzas look good. Fucking the Machine Guns look good. Everybody, A Town Down Under got their shit in a little bit. Like, everybody does. Of course, they're the heels in the match, so everybody's gonna, you know,
Yeah,
it's okay. Everybody's going to beat up on A Town Down Under, and that's okay. They did this tag match the same way that they did the previous one with the somebody from each team is always legal. So I don't know if that's the way they're going to do triple threat tag team matches for the foreseeable future. I do like this change though. I think it's cool. Saban and Shelley, of course, scored the win. And next week, I get my wish because they take on DIY for a title shot. So Motor City Machine Guns come in. They're here. We're already going to get them versus DIY, which is the match everybody wants.
good for
And
them
and
too. Like
immediately to a
those,
tag title.
yeah,
So
the the machine guns are they've worked so hard for so long and have been so kind of quietly influential in tag team wrestling since 2006 when they first started tagging. They I'm and I've been a big Alex Shelley fan specifically for a while. I mean, when I was e-fetting when I stole the vapor trail from him. That's how I was introduced to the shell shock.
mm-hmm.
Was the first time I'd seen anybody do a swinging reverse STO, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna steal that. Like, so that's how the vapor trail came about. Like, so I'm a big fan of Alex Shelley. I'm a huge fan of the machine guns as a unit. Good on them. Glad get that money, guys. I don't care where you get it
Mm-hmm.
from. Just get it because it's about time that they got the big money because
Yeah.
those dudes are in their 40s. Like they don't have much time left in their careers. If they're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
that bag, they better get it now. So I'm glad that they did.
Well, so two things I noticed that one good, one bad. One good thing I noticed about this debut was that unlike previous iterations of people in WWE who might have come in even with their same name from the indies or another company, the announcers super went into their history and made sure if you didn't know who they were, now you know who they are. Which
Like,
is very non-typical of WWE, at least in the
yeah,
past, and was super awesome. They should always do that. Um, One negative thing I noticed about the debut though was that they definitely got Def Rebel to do their theme, and it definitely Def Rebelled. So yeah,
I heard
Um,
something about how he was let go or something, or they weren't going to renew his contract or
I
something.
think there's like a movement because of this Motor City Machine Guns thing. There is now like a Twitter thing hashtag going on about fire Def Rebel. So I don't know if it's like I don't know if that's the exact hashtag, but I have seen probably more than a handful of posts in my for you about how look what they've done to the Motor City Machine Guns theme. Get rid of this band. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but either way, super good match. All three teams actually looked really good, but of course the Motor City Machine Guns pulled out the win, and they looked fantastic doing it. They always look good in tag matches. So after that, we had Nia Jax and Candice LeRae versus Naomi and Bailey for the main event. Now, I don't know why I forgot to put this in my notes, but earlier in the night, Nia is she's talking to Tiffany on the phone, and Tiffany is saying, I'm sick and I've got the sniffles and I'm not coming to work and all this stuff. So they make her, Nick Aldis makes her get a tag team partner. And while he's telling her that, Candice LeRae shows up. It's like, well, you're the champ and I'm the women's speed champ. So
Oh, they
we
actually
can,
mentioned it.
yeah, they did talk about speed. They're like, I'm the first women's speed champ. So we should team up together. And so that's the tag team. It's Candice LeRae and Nia versus Bailey and Naomi. Um, Jax immediately crushed Bailey in the corner and almost won. Like it was almost a minute long match. But then LeRae came in and the baby faces started getting heat on her. Indy Hartwell, who's I guess Candice's friend. I don't really know much about her.
They were in NXT together as part of the Way, so they
Okay,
have
okay.
history.
So she got involved to give Candice a 9 on her advantage. She shoved Bailey into the ring post. After she shoved Bailey in the ring post, LeRae rolled up Bailey and got the pin. I
Ooh,
was shocked, and Nia Jax looked shocked too.
ooh, pushing Candace.
Yeah, I dude. Okay,
Yeah,
like, do you remember
baby, get it.
last week or week before when I was like, if you surprise me, I'm gonna
Yeah,
pop.
yeah,
This was one right
yeah.
here. Candice LeRae getting the pin, I popped. I was like, no fucking way,
That looked like, I
fucking
mean,
way.
the
Like,
way that you described it, it was like, oh, they're setting her up to take the pin.
that's what I
It was
thought
like,
too.
yeah, it was like, oh, they're only putting her in this match so that Nia doesn't have to lose.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. And then they hand her the pin over Bailey. Like,
Wow,
wow. Like,
that's a
um,
statement.
yeah, I didn't even know what to say about it. We'll talk about that here just a little in just a second because that was our main event of the night. Um, so
Two women's main events this week for
yeah,
WWE.
yeah,
Hey,
wild,
two
right?
women's tag team main events actually.
Yes, two women's tag team main events and crazy stuff, man. Like I'm both of like one of them I really kind of wish okay like I really kind of wish Tiffany would have got to cash in on Liv because I would love to see Tiffany and like how that Tiffany Nia dynamic changes after that,
Yeah,
especially with them having to interact and now knowing they're going to face each other at Crown Jewel or whatever.
right.
I mean, I won't talk about the event itself because I'm probably not going to watch it, but the fallout of said event and the build up to said event. I mean, if we don't talk about it, we're going to miss half the show right now. So,
Right. Yeah. I
a
mean,
little bit
that's
of it has
yeah.
to be talked about, but I would love to see
Right.
how this dynamic would play out that in that way. But they didn't do it. But still, like handing Candice LeRae the win was wild. Okay, so two
That's
women's
great.
two women's main events this week for that. Two things I liked about SmackDown. One absolutely was Candice LeRae getting that pin in the main event. Her and
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano both won tonight. Go celebrate, guys. You fucking deserve it.
Yeah.
So they both got the pin. Wild.
There you go.
So good night for the
The
Mr. and
Gargano
Mrs.
household.
Wrestling household. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So did they have like cousin Shibata come over for Thanksgiving? It's just like the whole wrestling household. Um, I really like that. I really like the machine guns showing up, man.
Yeah.
Um, I've never been a big TNA watcher. Okay, I'll cop to that right away. I've always felt like TNA was a bit of a cheaper WCW. But I recognize and love a lot of the talent that came out of that place, like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, and I mean,
Yeah, there
Ace
was like
Border was AJ Styles for so
yeah,
long. Like, I
there
mean,
was a pipeline. It
yeah,
was Ring of Honor, TNA, WWE for
yeah,
so long. So you saw those guys kind of really cut their teeth in Ring of Honor, get TV time
polished.
polished in TNA, and then hit WWE eventually.
Yeah,
And that's what's happening here, just way extended.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I'm not a big TNA watcher, but I did and do like the Motor City Machine Guns. Despite not being a fan of Detroit at all. I'm still a fan of the tag team, and I thought it was a good match. Something I didn't like. Now I know earlier I talked a little bit about how I didn't like that Def Rebel up the theme.
Ugh,
Okay,
yeah.
but there was something even more egregious on this show that I did not like. You ready for
What's
this
that?
one?
What's that?
They made this big deal about Candice LeRae and Nia Jax being a team because she's the champ and she's the champ, right?
Yeah.
Candice LeRae did not carry her WWE Speed Championship to the ring with her. She did not wear it on the
What's
show at all.
what's the point of mentioning that there's a champion and then not having them come out with the belt?
I don't know. I don't know why they can't carry the Speed Champion because it happened when Andrade was Speed Champion too. Like he wasn't carrying it on the other shows.
Yeah,
And
like
I don't know who the Speed Champion, the men's Speed Champion is now, but I can tell you that I don't know that because I don't watch Speed. And if they are on Raw and SmackDown, they're not showing up with their belt, which they totally should be.
it
Um,
should be, except that even they know that speed doesn't matter.
mhm.
Like,
I'm sorry, but
they're
I
telling
don't
you that it doesn't matter by not featuring the belt.
exactly. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, you are downplaying, like you made it a thing. Like the whole reason Candice LeRae wants to be Nia Jax's partner is because they're both champions
Yeah,
on different shows.
yeah,
And now you have them come out to the ring together, and Nia's got her belt, and Candice doesn't have her belt. And it's like, but y'all just said she was a champion.
yeah,
I mean, I remember like it's definitely not a because it's a different show thing because Liv shows up on SmackDown with her title and Gunther shows
yeah,
up on Raw with his title or Cody shows up on Raw with his title. You know, I
yeah,
mean it's not that, it's speed. And this is a very clear message from WWE whether they meant to send it or not that
yeah,
they do not take that title and that show seriously.
yeah.
And that's a damn shame, especially if you're going to hand the person who's carrying that title a fucking win to try to legitimize. If she was carrying that title, you would actually add some legitimacy to the title, but she didn't bring it out with her at all. So nobody's going to even correlate the speed title to that win she just got in the main event of SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. I that was even more egregious than ruining the Machine Guns theme with Def Rebel. Um, which
Yeah, because you can always change
you can always
a
change the
theme
theme.
down the line. You
Mm-hmm.
can't retroactively go back and change a match result or something that
Yeah.
happened during the course of a match,
You watch like on
especially
the
on a live show.
you watch like on the network, there'll be like a really bad Photoshop of the belt on her as she's walking into the ring, you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
you mean like Andrade's speed title belt render?
oh god, that was terrible, wasn't it?
Ugh,
But
jeez.
anyway, so yeah, I didn't like that at all. I thought that was very egregious, and I thought just like you that it was a message from WWE, whether they meant to send it or not, that speed is not as important. Um, to wrap it up with something I did like, man, I'll tell you, um, like I said before, Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen, he does his best work when he is maybe slightly unjustified, but vindictive and ass
Yeah,
hurt
yeah,
and betrayed and all of those things that he is right now or that he is portraying to be. He does his best work when this is the guy he is. I am so looking forward to where this goes. It looks like we're going to get Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at Crown Jewel. Um, but I don't think it's going to end there. Kevin Owens is a long game guy. I'm positive he's probably had some
yeah.
input on this. Just the way that his little promo was filmed seemed very very Kevin, not very WWE.
Yeah,
So,
they're experimenting with new stuff like that. That
mhm.
both promotions are really.
They
So
are,
I
they
mean,
are.
that's I feel like that's only good for the landscape.
Hmm. But yeah, I mean, I really like that. I think Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. It's really hard to call him Kevin Owens, even though it's. I mean, I can easily call him Kevin
Yeah.
Owens, but it's just once you saw somebody in ROH, like it's that Vince thing, man. That old Vince thing. Like
Yeah.
you can't have the same name that he was popular under before. But we all
Nope.
know who that is. We
Yeah.
all know that's even if you weren't an ROH fan back then, you know now that that's Kevin Steen.
Yep.
And like if you go back and watch it, you could like his character now is definitely informed by his character then.
Oh
So
yeah.
he's basically the
Absolutely.
same dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only person that I've seen come out of ROH and have a drastic change besides a name is Generico.
Yeah.
And he's been
No,
missing
no,
for
no, no,
years.
no. Remember, he's running an orphanage in Mexico. Like those are two
Uh,
different guys.
hmm.
The two different guys. People make that mistake all the time, but I mean, Sami Zayn and El Generico are two different people.
Well, El Generico, please come back. I do love Sami Zayn. Maybe they should tag together.
They should tag together.
That'd be
Prove once
hilarious.
and for all. Just because you've never seen Sami Zayn and El Generico in the same place doesn't mean they're the same person.
Dear sweet 6 pound, 8 ounce baby Jesus, if there was ever a time for somebody to have an identical twin that I didn't know existed, now would be a great time for Sami Zayn to have an identical twin I didn't know existed.
Yep. It would
So
be
yeah,
great.
that was SmackDown. The belt thing was kind of egregious. Other than that, the wrestling on the show was fantastic. The new format of the 3 ways that they're doing that is actually kind of an old format, but the way they're doing it now, I
Yeah.
like it. I never liked one team sitting idle or just being
It
shit canned out
seems,
on the floor. They got
yeah.
rid of that shit canned out on the floor thing.
Yeah.
Like that completely eliminated that with somebody from each team being completely legal all the time.
Yeah.
I I
The
can't say
only
enough how much I
thing
like that.
the only thing that that now eliminates is the option for the heels to just kind of sit back and just rest on the apron and let the two babyface teams or the other heel and the other babyface team kick the crap out of each other and then pick their spot if they
Yeah.
can get a blind tag somehow. But ultimately, that's a small facet that can be easily left to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would probably be a lot more exciting to see three people in the ring and three people on the outside, and that eliminates too um the weirdness about anybody can tag in any other partner, from any other team. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know that often led to, storyline telling shenanigans that, but this opens up new possibilities and it clarifies that, yes, these teams are united fronts. They can only tag each other in and out. You're not going to have this nonsense where, like, I mean, they never they never really took the opportunity. Like the only thing that they don't usually do in normal triple threat tag matches, I think I've only seen them address one time, and it was in the last couple of years. And triple threat matches have been around for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
How come heel teams don't more often make it so that both the members of the team are in the ring at the same time via tagging shenanigans. So one of them can pin the other and they automatically win. Like, like how is that not a thing? Like, right?
Hello, gaping plot hole.
Right?
Uh,
Seriously. I mean,
uh,
you could the other side of that is that the other, one of the members of the team is also getting pinned.
mm-hmm.
But at the very least, then they don't lose. Like, because then it would be like, okay, well, they didn't win, but they didn't lose, so it's a wash. Everybody gets a little piece of the purse, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
It's a
I don't
very
know.
communist way of doing
I'd
it.
like to see them explore that somehow,
Yeah,
and see how that
but
worked out.
this way, if you can only tag your partner in because everybody has a representative in the ring at all times anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that eliminates that gaping plot hole.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe
So
it's just WWE shoring it up. Like maybe somebody from Endeavor was like, you know what, don't make sense, guys.
yeah,
And then they made this adjustment. I just like to see how they explore this going into the future because I like that it eliminated some things. I'd like to see how they're going to overcome like how the heels can sit back and win the match,
mm.
easily. Like I'd like to see how they're going to still work it out because heels are still going to win these matches,
Oh yeah,
in some
eventually.
cases. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see how they come across that. But yeah, man, I mean, thumbs up for SmackDown this week. Um, I normally don't like their format, but they didn't do a whole lot of that commercial back to a promo while there's
Segment.
people
Yeah.
wait. Yeah, like they didn't do that thing that Raw is now doing. So yeah, big thumbs up for SmackDown this week. It was super entertaining. I like triple threat tag team matches, and there was two of them, so I'm not
Yeah.
mad at that at all. And
Yeah.
I like women's main events too, and there was one of those or two of those this week, but one on this show as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not hating at all. WWE, where normally I take everything they do with a bit of a grain of salt because I've been hurt before.
Yeah.
They're killing it lately. I can't like call me fed pilled. I love it. It's working. Call me a. I'm taking the red pill and the blue pill right now. So and they both taste good. So
Purple pills.
yeah. So yeah, yeah, that's SmackDown for this week. It was good, man.
Cool.
And that's the morning spot. So it's time for a hot tag.